Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today is an incredibly informative, action packed episode. We cover everything from health to longevity, coffee enemas.
Ashwagandha. We talk about ayahuasca. We talk about all sorts of stuff with Dr. Kapoor. He's a personal friend of mine. At the very end, he even gives you the three questions that you need to ask your doctor tomorrow. One of them caught me off guard. I wasn't ready for it, and I'm about to go ask my doctor right now. So stick all the way until the end to catch that. We'll see you on the inside. What's up, team? We're back on the Decision Lab. Today we have an expert interview with a good friend of mine, Dr. Kapoor. He's a primary care provider, specializes in family and hospital medicine. He focuses on patients' whole health, which is why we're excited to talk to him today, body, mind, and spirit. This is an area that's flooded with misinformation and confusion, so we're really excited to chat. Welcome to the pod, Dr. Kapoor.
Hi, thanks, guys. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. Look forward to delving deep into some of these issues.
Heck yeah. The first thing we'd like to ask everyone is, how the hell did you get here? I know your journey into medicine and where you are today is kind of a wild one. So walk us through, like, childhood all the way today in broad strokes.
Oh my Lord. That's my tell-all book. I'm saving it for that, but I'll give you a little glimpse. I'm an immigrant to this country from India. My parents, when I was about 10, went to the Middle East to Kuwait. We got displaced during the first Gulf War. I went back to India, finished my medical school, came to KU, finished the rest of my training, served in underserved Missouri, small town Bolivar, Springfield area, Branson area. Married my wife. She said there's no Apple store here. Looked for the closest Apple store. It was Leawood. And we've been here now for the last 14, 15 years. So that's kind of how I ended up here. But professionally, I've done hospital medicine, internal medicine, family medicine since 2008. I left the ICU setting after COVID last year. COVID kind of broke my brain, and I don't think I've quite processed the whole thing, or I don't think society has quite processed, though we just kind of moved on like nothing happened. And since after COVID is when I was doing outpatient practice and hormone treatments and doing ketamine, but I just last year consolidated into one concierge practice as a primary care physician. Still, I do some research with psychedelics. That's been an interest of mine. We're doing phase 2, phase 1 trials in psilocybin here in Kansas City, as well as DMT, can delve into that as well. I've have a strong family history of depression and anxiety on my mother's side. That's how my interest in ketamine and psychedelics started. I had a personal experience with ayahuasca in Peru myself. So, it's, oh, there you go. So, that itself can be a 3-hour podcast. So it just depends on which direction you guys want to go in. Yeah, I like how you said it. I want to treat the whole person, mind, body, spirit, because we are one unit. And some of the factors in traditional medicine don't recognize the power of the mind.
Drives me crazy.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I'm curious about are any big ahas or breakthroughs or moments that you had like throughout this journey of yours in relation to medicine versus the spirit side.
Yeah, absolutely. What's happened is that just like we live in a capitalistic society, so I understand that, and medicine is like that. It just seems like some practices of medicine need to be separated from pure greed. We've sort of just everything doesn't have to make 10x money. Everything doesn't have to have investors make boatloads of money on people's health. We need to have a little bit of, it should make money. I believe in the capitalistic system until we figure out a better way. This is the best we have. But I just feel that, when you start off in something, in any career, and in medicine, you're just sort of like, I want to help people and do the right thing. But I think we got to get some of these greedy toes and paws that are in the system out of it. I'm not going to be hugging trees or a socialist Bernie Sanders kind of guy, but it's just getting ridiculous now.
What led you to this thought process? Like, not everybody is inside the medical field like you are. It sounds like COVID impacted you, but can you give some examples of how this greed enters the healthcare field?
So it's a simple thing of physicians. We work with patients' interests. That's how we're trained. We just want to do what's best for the patient. So say you come to me for back pain and I do your exam and I can tell, well, it's a pinched nerve, it's this and that. I think you need an MRI. I can't order an MRI for you. I have to send you to physical therapy for 6 weeks. You have to get an x-ray. I have to do some blood works. The insurance company will only approve them after 2 or 3 months of this, unless you have what they call red signs, which are basically you're on death's door, right? And so doing this for over 15 years, you just know the dance, and you got to do the dance. And I keep telling people that if we knew how much cash prices are, this whole everyone would be on the streets. Like, why are we paying for health insurance? So the aha moment came when basically I came during COVID, where I was just trying to, we didn't have much data. We're just trying to get things and figure things out. A simple statement from me right after COVID came out was blown up when I said that, guys, we don't know much, but let's get your vitamin C, vitamin D levels checked and get them up, because whatever this virus is, you're going to need good immunity. And Fox 4 called me and said, you're an anti-vaxxer, you're anti this, and they're trying. So it's just like common sense gets
Jeez.
thrown out, and insurance won't pay for vitamin replacements or IV replacements. They'll pay for some $50,000 chemotherapeutic drug, which has a 7% chance of success. And you follow that thread, the pharma company that has the drug is part owner of the giant insurance company, and they're all tied in together. Then you call the pharmacist and say, well, I don't want this medicine, I want that medicine. Well, we can't. The insurance company wants this medicine. You follow that thread, you find out, well, that medicine is another one that the insurance company owns through another subsidiary. There are these PBMs. I mean, it's just, there's a giant party happening, and we, the common people, are not invited.
Holy crap.
That's what's happening, and everyone include. I mean, I'm in the system. I'm not even aware of the nuances of what is going on. And if you have these companies, you have giant lobbies. Politicians need money. Running Instagram accounts and Facebook accounts ain't cheap anymore. So that's the game.
That's a wild time.
Yeah, it is a wild time, and all I'm saying is let's leave part of health out of this. Let's not. These are, we're all Americans. These are our fellow countrymen. We don't have to nickel and dime them for everything. Let's do the right thing when it comes to health. And from there, I mean, you guys know this. If you are sick, have a headache, or have a virus, you just don't feel yourself. You're not there for your relationships. You're not there for your jobs. Compound that into the chronic autoimmune illnesses, morbid obesity, diabetes. They're not feeling themselves, and once you get some of this fixed, suddenly their marriage is getting fixed, their relationship with the children are getting fixed, they're getting they're sleeping better, they're getting promotions at their jobs. These are all interdependent. So
Right. Yeah. Chloe's probably sitting there thinking, I am so glad I'm in Canada right now.
yes, absolutely. And yeah, sorry, this is a soapbox of mine, so I'm going to get off because I'll just keep ranting otherwise.
No, I love it. I think it's great. Like, what were you gonna say,
Canada's
Chloe?
medical system has its flaws too. There's no perfect medical system out there. But before we dive a little bit more into that, I'm really curious about your psychedelic experience. What
I
prompted
shouldn't
you?
have mentioned.
Because I actually used to work in the psychedelic field. I'm very pro psychedelics. It's changed my life. And I find it is very rare for, I guess, getting less rare for traditional doctors to be open to this type of medicine. And so, what, initially sparked your interest in it in the first place? And then I want to hear about how that, changed you.
Sure. Okay. Well, like I said before, my mother's side has a strong history of depression and anxiety. I come from India. It's not
Mhm.
talked much about. In fact, till today, if I call and ask what happened to that aunt, oh, she just went away. And then you come to find out she was in a psych facility for 2 years or something like that, and no one's talking about it. And so it's rampant in India in that sense. But my aunt in about 2016, 2017 was very depressed. She's a high functioning CFO of a big company at the time. And I found a clinic in California to do ketamine. It wasn't very well known here. And she had good results with it. And so then I started researching ketamine and offering it in my clinic right before COVID. March 2020 is when Kansas City, it was a thing. 3 weeks before that, I was in Peru. So what happened was I have one of my best friends is in Houston. He's a physician. His mother died of an opioid overdose that was prescribed by his father, who's a physician. And that just happened like
Sheesh.
6 months ago, right? So I was doing ketamine. I was straight by the book. I was all like studies, this. I was not interested in marijuana, mushrooms. I just thought it was something people did, whatever. I didn't judge. I didn't know anything. This guy's like, I was like, hey, dude, can't we just go to Vegas and like get shit faced or something? I mean, do we really have to go to Peru and do ayahuasca? Like, what is it? So immediately, the way I am, he's kind of like a spiritual guy, and he's kind of like vibes and like I feel it in my stomach guy. And I read everything I could about ayahuasca and DMT. Like I was like, I had my blood pressure monitor, I had my cuff, I had my pulse oximetry. I was like, I'm doing this as an experiment for society, you know. And so and going there, so it's just like there were a lot of, I don't know if you guys believe in synchronicity and stuff, and this is all stuff that happened after. And so it was just like I had to fly to Houston, right? And I was going to meet him in Houston, and then we were going to fly to Lima. It's a 7 hour flight. So land in Houston, he was running behind him. We weren't sure where we're going and what's happening. I got into this train to go to another terminal, and I turned around and he's standing right there. And the whole 7 hour trip, we both are seeing like, you know, 111, 333, 77, all like, this is like these numbers. I'm just like, oh man, come on. I got to get back to work. Pissed. I'm leaving kids and going to the jungle to do drugs. You know, it's like I was in a different frame of mind. And then I'm like, I'm just going for my friend to keep him safe. That's it. We land there. This guy is doing all kinds of chanting and all this kind of stuff. We get to Lima, first of all. Then you got to get to Iquitos. Then we take a bus, go up to the jungle, and then we trek for an hour and a half, get somewhere. There's like 36 people. There's a guy with fresh cut wounds from Canada, from Ontario. There's a truck driver from Sydney, addicted to meth, going through withdrawal. There's just everybody there, super nice people, but going through like deep shit. And I'm like, I'm just
Jesus.
a suburban doctor dude from small town Kansas City. What am I even doing here? So it was fascinating listening to the stories. We have the first ceremony, and I'm just like, you know, I'm watching my pulse and stuff, and I'm like doing my thing. And of course, you've done ayahuasca, so you know. Well, I start throwing up. I start going through it. My buddy, he just had a very bad physical reaction. He shat himself 20 times, throwing up all night. We do the first session, we get back to the tent, and he starts a mutiny. He's like, this is the devil's juice. There's something wrong. We all need to run out of here. And I'm like, dude, I'm a cheap Indian. I paid 5 grand. I'm just, whether I'm drinking ayahuasca or not, I'm staying here. So I was like, no, I'm not leaving. And then he left. The guy I went there for left.
No way.
Okay. And so I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? And you know, I don't have signal. I was like, I just told him, don't tell my wife you left, because my wife's gonna fly down and have the American Navy and Marines looking for me. You know, but after that, I had one of the most profound experiences of my life. I mean, like I said, it's a long podcast if we're just going to talk about ayahuasca, but I would say I am pre-ayahuasca and post-ayahuasca. No one can tell, but I know. So that's
What was
kind
the
of,
biggest change? If we can't go into all of them, like what was the biggest
yeah.
change pre-ayahuasca versus post-ayahuasca?
It's basically, I have never had that feeling of being loved and accepted in my life. That was the most profound thing that I felt. That, you know, how you always feel like, oh, you need to do this, or you mess this up or that. And then it's a love that a father or a mother gives their children. It was just a universal love that I felt that was just, I was in tears for hours, just feeling grateful. And that was one. And the second was, I don't know a whole lot of things. One of the things is common with ayahuasca. I don't know if you had this. I had the DMT elves. You know, they came, and I don't know, Cody, if you've done it, but some people see these sort of goblin or what is that, leprechaun, like Irish leprechaun type people. So the first day I drank it, I just heard this music, and it would be like these goblins sort of playing these drums, and they had this medical kit, and they would come, and I was like, hey, who are you guys? And they'd just be laughing at me like, hey, you dumbass, you don't know nothing. You're such a dumbass, you don't know nothing. They're just like being playful with me. And then one guy would take out a scissors, he would cut something, and when he would cut it, I would throw up. And I would just feel this lightness, like something just got lifted. And they were doing some sort of thing. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Teach me, you know. And they were like, you know, no, you're not ready. Way out of here. They did something, whatever. And so it's like, how do I now I get back to the real world and I'm sitting in the doctor's lounge. What do I do with this information? How do
Right.
I tell my person that I'm doing research with about this and be like, so that was, I got labeled, the cookie guy and all that stuff, which I would have done the same thing if someone came up with those kind of stories. But that was the second lesson, that you are just keep your mind open. If someone comes in with energy frequency healing, listen, learn. Yes, unfortunately, this space attracts people who have issues processing information, or if you want to say, are just kooky.
You have a medical degree, though. I mean, you're a doctor, and that you went through this. You had the cuff. You did all that kind of stuff. How do you explain some of the things you were experiencing? Like there is science behind some of these things, like
Yeah,
subconscious
absolutely.
projections.
I know the chemical. I know what it does. I'm studying it right now. But, when you're under it, it's like it's such a profound love and connection. That's the part I understand. So people yawn when they do sometimes shrooms, or and that I know it's an anticholinergic reaction. I know the drug is doing that. So I know that, but the shaman's like telling me that this is how spirits go in and out, and that's his explanation, and stuff like that. But I can see my pulse is going up, my pulse is going down. I can see the medical things that are happening, but I cannot explain the mind, how these people combine these two plants with no knowledge, way back. And truly, I think that's probably, delving into some weird areas, but the future is going to be, our mind is going to be the one that heals. Our mind is the one that heals. And that's going to be the future, not new therapeutics, medications. It's going to be the
I
mind.
can agree more with that.
Yeah, yeah. It'll take some
Can,
time, and there'll be some, pretty gnarly carcasses on the way.
can you expand on that a little bit? Like, especially how you work with patients on the mind body connection? Because I do agree. I think the mind is so important and fundamental to our own healing.
Yeah, it is, and it's like we try to think we are such complex people. We're really simple people. I have a concierge practice, right? So if you want to join my practice, it's a $150 cash payment per month, besides whatever we decide to do outside the insurance system. I take all insurances, and we'll get everything covered we can. But once people join and pay that 150, suddenly they get motivated. What's $150? It's like if we go to sushi right now, 150 is gone. It's not, it's suddenly they're like tracking their diet, and just because they know I'm with Dr. Kapoor, I'm going to meet him. He's watching my lab. He's doing this stuff. And suddenly they start making change. It's just a simple psychological trick. Like, okay, accountability. That's all. I'm not doing anything. I'm not being mean to them or anything. But the first time I sit with them, and the biggest thing we spend time on, the medical information is secondary to me, is like, how are you feeling? And what is your day like? And what's happening with the feelings during the day? So that's a majority of the first interaction, is what I'm having, is what's happening there. And then I explain to them that you have to make time for this, for your mind. You know, they're like, "Oh, I want to lose 30 pounds, put me on the Zempic," and there are people like that who are like, "Get me out the door." I'm like, yes, but the central problem of your overeating is, where are we going? Like, there's trauma, there's sleep deprivation, there's all this stuff has to be addressed. Ozempic will clear the fog, and go from there. So that's kind of, the mind is very, very powerful with these things. We have no idea how to harness it. There are people, we just need to make space with it. And people say all kinds of meditation and give it fancy words, and I'm just like, sit in silence, just whatever you can do, harness the power, work with it, and you'll see wonders happen for sure.
Have you heard of internal family systems, Dr. Kapoor?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Work with a couple of therapists who are very good at it.
Yeah.
But I don't use it. I mean, like, I don't know enough to practice it myself.
Well, that's between the last time you and I have talked, I got trained in IFS. And so I'm like IFS level 1, and I use IFS with my clients all the time to
That's
work on
awesome.
some of these things. So it's,
Yeah.
I love to hear that that's a huge piece of your concierge practice. Something I'm curious about is what has that transition been like for you, going from like traditional medical practice into this concierge space?
Yeah. And so if I was in a traditional practice, I get 8, 10, 12 minutes per patient. Okay. And someone would be knocking my door because they have to, it's just the way it is. You have to see 30, 35 patients a day. to keep this hamster wheel. Administrators will either knock you down, cut your pay, not give you a bonus, or move on, find somebody else. Bunch of nurse practitioners, PAs, or whatever it is. I can't do anything with you in 8 to 10 minutes. I just can't. Like we can maybe have, and so all these appointments would be refill my Adderall, refill my sleeping pill, refill my SSRI, refill, and just move on. Like, even cursory blood work, be like, I don't have time for that, insurance, this and that. So obviously I was getting nowhere there. And so I was like, how do I solve this problem of time? And that's how I came, this concierge model has been happening for a while. And so that now I can be like, I see maybe 7 patients a day. Some days I see 5. And so now time is not a factor. Let's sit down, let's figure it out. And then I've built connections where I can, I know what the cash prices are for everything now, where to go when we want to do. If someone comes to me and be like, listen, I want to delve into this, I got a COVID vaccine, I want to delve into spike protein and doing all this stuff. I know where I can get all this cash pay and get everything organized. So it's given me freedom to practice medicine as it should be. This is how it should be practiced in the insurance model. But, I can only dream. My mind's not that powerful to change things yet.
Hey, if you say so, yeah, you got. Or do you expand? Or sorry, do you plan to expand it? Like, will you get other physicians under you? Like, what's the vision?
That's the vision. The vision is I don't even need them under me. I just want independent physicians all over the city, the country available. We got to stop these big corporations having physicians employed. It's just they're just maximizing interest. This is just a product like a cheeseburger to them. This is not, they'll say the right things, but we can go to any HCA facility in town. We can go to Menorah and look at the CEO pay and of the physician pay. You can just walk into their office. The CEO has a nice waterfall fountain thing, while my examination chair, the bolt is falling down while while I'm doing a well woman exam or something like that. So,
Jesus Christ.
yeah, that's what's actively happening. And that's what corporate America is, right? The CEO gets certain pay and stuff. But that's why I'm saying, is this what we want? Is this what we want for medicine, for care? And AI is going to help a lot with solving some of these problems, whether it's with me. But yeah, the plan is to just keep going until, and that's why I said I was going to stop at 150. I had no plans of doing all this, but now it's become something else. Now it's not even about the purpose for me to do that. Number one was to spend time with patients, not work nights and weekends. But now I just feel like this needs to expand. And people, I'm not the only one who feels this way. There are multiple other physicians in the 10-mile radius who are doing this. So we're just got to get together because it's just disparate right now. Everyone's not connected,
Yeah.
So, yeah. And by the
Yeah,
way,
it
I
makes
may
sense.
not be answering some of your questions directly. I tend to wander off. So please keep me on track.
You're doing great.
Okay.
Let's go to you personally though. Chloe has a question.
Holding space for so many people. Do you ever experience burnout?
Absolutely. My burnout has burnout.
Burnout has burnout.
I'm using that.
It's real because I mean, you guys know this with AI and there's an explosion of information.
Yeah.
And it's like we're sort of, even in medicine, we're sort of in this post-truth era. Like, what is true? What's happening? What are the incentives for these studies? Who's doing them correctly? So there's a lot of reading to do to keep this on track. AI has helped my workflow a lot, and I can do something like these intractable or hard to treat migraines. Please analyze these 50 studies and tell me X, Y, or Z, right? I have these prompts now. And so that has helped me. But again, it's like, AI it's not that advanced. It's almost like just Google searching it. And so you can't say it's 100%, but yeah, those kind of things. So doing that, and then I'll tell you, during COVID, like when it started, we didn't know anything, right? And so, as you guys know, the world became sort of, I'd walk into one room, and if CNN was on, I knew what questions I'm going to get. If I walk into the other room, Fox News was on, I know what questions I'm going to get there. And so the world sort of kind of split because of the virus. And all I was saying is, it's a virus, guys. I want to treat you guys. I want to go home to my family. You can can label me whatever you want, but that's the way I look at it. And so navigating now the space where patients are distrustful, rightfully so. I mean, pharma companies have lied about it. We lied about COVID. And so I understand where they're coming from, but I'm the front facing guy. They're never going to see the CEO or the administration, right? So their frustration comes out of me. And so there's that. And then navigating family life. And it's 2025. You just got to open Twitter and just get depressed in 3 seconds. It's like everything
So what
seems
are
to
your
be.
rituals then? How do you prevent burnout? You're a medical doctor. How do you prevent burnout and manage your stress personally? Do you have any rituals, habits, routines?
Absolutely. I dropped alcohol completely. There was just no safe amount that it didn't work out. No matter how, if it was like one beer, my sleep would, so I had to do that. We got a sauna and it became sort of my meditation box, silence room, whatever you want to call it. And that's the non-negotiable for me that, I'm not going to leave the house without being in there or even in the evenings sometimes. So I had to build these spaces where I am just able to disconnect and for myself. And then I cut back a lot of my social life because I am literally going to bed at 9 o'clock. It's like my kids always joke around because I was 9, I'll be like, who took my glycine supplement? Who took my L-theanine? Where's my, so, but I had to, just streamline things, all the common stuff, and actually just implement and make space, like I was saying earlier, for myself, my mind, and maybe before I'd feel guilty about it, but as you guys know, if I'm not well, I can't help anybody.
Yeah.
So,
Got to fill your own cup first. I like that.
right.
You've referenced this a couple times, how you use AI and stuff to examine data and information, this post-truth era. I'd be curious from your perspective, what's like the biggest misconception in the wellness space that just drives you crazy?
It's the correlation causation thing. It's like, if you got a vaccine and you got autism, did the vaccine cause autism? I don't know, but that's why we have studies. That's why you have to, it's like, okay, everyone has an opinion on something about it. And I just want to step back and see, like, listen, my only goal is to help you. If it comes in a Chinese herb, it comes in whatever form, maybe there are not studies on it. I have no problems with that. But let's be able to analyze data objectively and know that the easiest person to fool is ourselves, right? So everyone has, and we're in echo chambers. I'm in my own algorithm. I mean, I have to watch cat videos sometimes just to throw it off, maybe. It's not working, but we're all in the echo chambers. We've got the same information. So let's just not, that's, and this is our fault too, because when COVID started, we just stood up and said, this is science, like some established thing. No, I mean, everything's going to change. What we did 25 years ago, what we're doing now, like these knee and hip surgeries, 25 years from now, we'll be horrified that we did that. And this light is toxic. It's not accepted right now, but everyone's going to be, circadian rhythm is going to be the next mitochondrial thing. And everyone's going to be talking about this. They already are. But in 25 years, it'll be different. But that's what science is. We evolve, we learn. We just got to give each other a little bit of grace and be open to everything.
For people who might not understand correlation versus causation or be familiar with research, could you just give a basic, like, 101 version of the difference between correlation and causation?
I mean, the example you can give is like, imagine a big CEO type guy walking in New York. All these guys have these ties and they have these tie pins. It's very common, and they walk around. And so these guys are living high stress life, drinking a lot, eating poorly, not exercising, not sleeping well, and they tend to have heart attacks in their 50s. So somebody came out with a paper and said, well, tie pins are related, cause heart attacks, right? And so that's what correlation causation means. That just because one factor is present doesn't mean it's the cause of the medical outcome. There are many confounding factors that have to be looked into. And so you can always twist data and turn it into something, but if it's not reproducible, if it doesn't have taken out these confounding factors, and we can't do this with every drug and every intervention, I get that, and anecdotal data is important. I cannot tell you N of one how many experiments I do on myself, which have helped patients and my patients too. But I am not going to stand up there and say this is what 100% of the population should do. And I feel like we just, with social media, it's broad strokes. And human body is not like that. Our genetics are different. I have an Indian genetic system. It's a little different from someone who has European ancestry. And so these factors have to be accounted for, and there has to be nuance. And we're learning.
How does research, or how do people gather that? Like, how do they figure out, what are some of the things that researchers can do or that people could look out for in research they're reading that helps them understand that they're looking at something causative, not just correlation?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I say is that PubMed is free. Go on PubMed, whatever your health issue, whatever your concern is, Google it, go down to the bottom, see who are the sponsors of the study. If there's a aspartame study and right below is sponsored by Diet Coke or whoever is using aspartame, like, okay, let's discard this. Let's find some other information. Find out, it's all available online. To use your Grok, Claude, ChatGPT, whatever you're using to ask these questions. But that's one way. There's a lot of people who are doing good research. Follow them, support them, be open to their ideas. How do people steer away from bad information? That's tough. Our attention span is 30 seconds. So TikTok's got your attention, and medicine is so nuanced. I could do a 30-second thing on collagen, but there are people who have this enzymatic deficiency who should not be taking collagen. But how do I explain all of that in like 30 seconds? So that's part of the information overload. I would say the other thing I would say is, if you're making or doing an intervention, I treat supplements like drugs. Make one or two at a time. People tend to start, they'll listen to, Huberman or Brian Johnson or Rogan or whatever, and then they're suddenly doing 12 things at one time, and we don't know what's doing what. They're not checking their blood levels. Like, there's just simple stuff to do. Like, you can get your blood work done, everything for like $350 cash. So just let's plug into the system. And if the data tells you, like, okay, magnesium is great for you, now I check your blood levels and your magnesium levels are 2.5 times normal, you're going to have some heart problems. Let's use that data, and let's not be like magnesium was good for you and maybe it was low at one time. So this is all checkable. Let's just do that instead of assuming everything. Yeah.
All right, Chloe, let's talk about traditional medicine here.
Yeah. So
Chloe
Kapur,
just wants to talk about ayahuasca, okay? So I don't want to talk about
exactly.
traditional medicine.
I'm like, let's skip ahead to the
Let's get
DMT
back
and
to
psilocybin
that.
studies.
And I'm happy to, by the way. I didn't want to cut it short. There's just so much, as you know. Maybe we can talk offline.
Yeah, screw it. Let's go into the studies first then. Talk to us about the studies that you're running. What indications are you studying DMT and psilocybin for?
So this is MDD, which is major depressive disorder, and GAD, generalized anxiety disorder. What they're doing is basically, one of the things FDA wants to know is LD50, which is the lethal dose of some of these medications and drugs. And so how it would correlate, say 5 grams is a heroic mushroom dose. The equivalent, we're giving 12.5s, but we've got them on monitors. We've got them for 5 days in the hospital, and we're checking everything. Something like psilocybin, very safe. 3 times the heroic dose, no heart issues, no kidney issues, no toxicity. Something like DMT, oh no, it's person dependent. It's just completely different. You just can't do that. And we're finding that that's a more tricky beast to, tame, so to speak. The problem I'm having, and I'll probably drop out of these soon, is there's the pharma book. They're taking psilocybin, they moved a carbon molecule, they're trademarking it. Now they're going to charge $10,000 for something that somebody can do at home from a trusted source. We saw this with MAPS and MDMA. They were doing such a great job, but the head therapist, very respected, turns out was abusing her patients, and there's rampant abuse, which I understand. Ecstasy, MDMA taken in a closed setting with one-on-one person. I mean, I get it. It's tough. How do we do that as a medical model with monetizing it? And so pharma's decided this is how they're going to monetize it. And like anything in medicine, it's going to be haves and have-nots. The rich people will get access to it. The poor people won't. So I don't know how this is going to play out. Well, actually, I do. Pharma's going to make their money, but I don't want to be a part of that. I'm just interested in the science, And so that's where I'm kind of struggling with that on a moral level. But we're getting great data, and so it's going to help a lot of people. It's already helping the people who are doing it. We have 46 million people on SSRIs. we need to make a shift.
That's
Can
wild.
you, for someone that doesn't understand it, what is the difference between doing a psychedelic journey like psilocybin and taking an SSRI, or how would psilocybin help somebody with major depressive disorder?
Well, psilocybin is your own therapist. And for someone who is not very spiritual, this is gonna sound like woo-woo stuff. But it's literally doing 10 years of therapy in a couple of sessions. One psilocybin experience has people who've been depressed for 30 years, depression free for up to a year at like remarkable numbers like 80% plus, right? And so things like DMT, we don't know much about DMT, but DMT is present in our bodies. It is when we're born, it comes out in high amounts. When we die, it comes out in high amounts. It is ubiquitous in nature. Plants, animals, birds, giraffes, they all have DMT. So why is it here? I don't know. Who are these elves? What's going on? I have no idea.
What's happening neurologically though, like medically? Like like an SSRI affects the serotonin system. What is happening with these things like medically?
So when you take DMT, there's a massive dump of serotonin in your gut and brain. And so that's part of the vomiting and the nausea that people experience when they go to an ayahuasca trip, because of that serotonin dump in their stomach. And so that massive serotonin dump then clears up the receptors. It brings our receptors back to, like, say, 12 to 15-year-old levels. We get more sensitive to future serotonin and dopamine. It clears out excess dopamine. It also opens NMDA receptors and causes glutamate and GABA to be fixed, all happening in like 3 4 hours. In an hour of taking it, of course, for some people it might feel, time dilates, so it might feel like you've been there for 3 days and had 5 families or something. But it's almost like I was talking to the shaman, and I was like, I wish I could sedate people on, like we do for taking the gallbladder out or for colonoscopies, and give them this. They wouldn't have the metaphysical stuff and all that, but the drug would just work just as well, but that's what's happening. It's literally a hard reset to your basic neurochemistry from a friendly neighborhood compound. If I take the serotonin compound and I take the psilocybin compound, I can put this like this. I have a slide. They're the same molecule. How is it that an essential neurochemical that is present in our body is available in nature? This was done by design. Okay, this has a purpose, and so I think the psilocybin will be much easier to roll out. I think it'll provide more benefit. However, the space is already having what I call a spiritual ego. When you do these things, a lot of times I've seen just the crowd I went with, they drop their materialistic ego, but they develop this spiritual side ego, which is, I am the one who healed you, not the medicine. I am more spiritually advanced than you, or I am. So they're not interested in BMWs or Mercedes, but it's like, well, I meditated for 18 hours, or I went to a dark retreat for 5, like, just like trying to outdo each other. And I met XYZ guru and he has my cell phone. It just goes on and on. And so that's the danger. Your ego is not, people are like, oh, I experienced ego death. You might have, but it's back, baby. It's attached to something else. Yeah.
That's how have you prevented that in yourself? Like, how have you managed to managed that
Dude,
yourself, the ego piece?
the way I describe it, it's like I looked through the keyhole and I saw the whole universe. And after you come back from that, you're like, I'm just such a tiny, small little part of this awesomeness. And thank you for making me a part of this. I mean, you just cannot be anything but humbled. Like, you don't know anything. It's just, this is some crazy stuff going on, and it's magical. So it's very easy to stay humble after you see something like that. And then I'm also very well aware that these are neurochemistry medications that have messed my neurochemistry in my brain. But I've never felt something like that, because with ayahuasca, if I would see an angel and she would be like maybe dropping water, I would have the sensation of water on my skin. So auditory, visual, touch, all senses hallucinating at the same time. And no explanation for that.
Right.
No.
That's interesting. Sounds like
Yeah.
mirror touch synesthesia kind of, where you can kind of,
Absolutely. And that was on my third thing. I did feel like I was about to walk into this red light seizure type thing, and two people did have seizures while they were there. So this is powerful stuff. Like I cannot emphasize how stupid I was going to Peru without knowing anything by reading 4 or 5 DMT books. I do not recommend it. It's hard work, and I have people I meet now who are like going every 6 months because they want to figure out how to get the next G wagon or a summer place in Aspen. Please, this is not what that's for. Just, this is something else.
all right, if we step away from some of the like psychedelic stuff, there are
Mhm.
other things that like your clinic, your wellness clinic, your practice offers, like NAD plus, IVs of different vitamins and things like that. How do you decide which of those things that you offer and how they're effective and those types of things when you look at like the research behind them?
Yeah, so when I see my patients, we talk about a thing that Dr. Peter Attia made popular. He calls it the Four Horsemen, and it's neurodegeneration, cancer, metabolic disease, and heart disease. Those are the four big ones that are going to get us. Longevity has become a big field now. So it just depends on what you're coming to me for. I have some healthy people who are coming for that purpose, for longevity and figuring out these problems, being at the cutting edge. I have some sick people coming for autoimmune issues. I have some people for hormone issues and stuff. So if you're coming to me for like, you're a healthy guy, but we want to plan out the future. So we look at these four big buckets. We go through your stuff and see which bucket, which order we're going to go in. And then I build a plan to prevent all of them. And then we do certain markers and certain things, VO2 max, coronary artery CT score, heart stuff, all this bunch of stuff. And then we get basic data and then we follow these people. That's one bucket. The other bucket that's growing for me is rampant hormone problems in young, 25, 22 to 35, severely low testosterone, the laptop on their groin. This is a generation that grew up on online, severe depression, anxiety. So that requires a different approach, different things. But there's rampant vitamin deficiencies, rampant hormone deficiencies, which are not being checked at regular primary care physicians because it doesn't pay. And so they do basic stuff and they just keep it moving. And these things take time to fix. But there's a lot more growing awareness, especially after COVID, about this stuff. So the stuff that I would describe that I provide is mental health aspect would be IV, oral ketamine, and CAP, ketamine assisted psychotherapy, hormone replacements, peptides, which is blown up recently, but seeing a lot of spurious peptide use causing kidney problems because people are ordering from Mexico or wherever. And then the fourth thing would be like a longevity, like a healthy person who wants to be super healthy, a longevity practice. And then the fifth would be like just regular traditional autoimmune thing. And I have people sort of going in a spectrum back and forth as well. So there are many complicated parts to it, but yeah, that's the gist of it.
What's up with IV stuff? Like that's something that I feel like I get all the time. Why IVs? Why can't I just go to Walmart, get the medicine or get the vitamin D off the shelf and take it? Like what is with IV stuff?
The IV stuff is just absorption issues. Most people's gut, I mean, I wish I could say I never had Doritos or Mountain Dew, but I've had a lot of crappy food and drinks, and I've been binge drinking in my 20s. So it's just, there's just my gut. I've done stuff to heal it, but it is not what it should be. And with that, I'm unable to absorb nutrients and vitamins. And add on to that, our busy lifestyle, we're not actually monitoring our micronutrients a lot. You might be doing your macronutrients, which is also not that common unless you're into fitness. But the micronutrients are not being, and then we got fad diets now, which I've done them all. Vegan, keto, carnivore. I mean, it's like a religion, each one. And they come up with their own nutrient deficiencies, which they're like, well, you can't You can't tell them that, because then that breaks their whole bubble about this being the most fantastic thing known to mankind. So that's the other issue we're facing, nutritional dogma nowadays. Because it worked for you, so now it has to work for the guy in Madagascar, Africa.
It's insane how strongly people will identify with a diet. I am vegan, I am carnivore, and I think all diets have pros and cons.
I know. It's so weird to me, because to have a conversation with someone, and I'll tell them I did the vegan diet, it didn't really work for me. They get so offended. They're like, "What did you do wrong? You're a doctor. You should know better." And I was like, "Well, the problem was my B12 was dropping, and I was losing energy, and I lost a lot of muscle mass, and I didn't have the knowledge to do the protein." And so I'm like having a normal conversation, and they're just like, "Of course, you heathen, you're gonna go to hell." And it's like, come on, guys.
Dude, I think a big piece of it is they're turning these into identities. It's no longer a diet that is external to them. It is their identity. I am
I
a
am a
vegan.
vegan, or I
Yeah.
am a carnivore. And it's
Which
like, no,
which
you're
is
just eating that diet. It's
which
not
we
who you
all
are.
we are human beings. We need our tribe. This is happening in the
Yeah.
psychedelic world as we speak. The same
Mhm.
stuff. Like, I know psychedelics. You haven't done psychedelics. Poor you.
Yeah. I started CrossFit recently, and I am a CrossFitter.
Right.
I don't come at people like I have a more like you. Like if you're weightlifting, if you're walking, running, I don't really care what you do. Like CrossFit works for me. If it doesn't work for you, fine. Do something different. I don't care.
I know. And haven't you people worked in sales? You think coming at me this way is gonna make me convinced of your argument?
Right. Dude, I couldn't agree more. One of a specific IV I'm curious about, I hear a lot about, haven't, at least in my read of the literature, I've not seen a ton of like super clear evidence or like crystal clear, like randomized control studies, double blind, whatever, around NAD. Could you talk to us
Yes.
about what NAD is, NAD8 plus? Like what is that? What's the research like?
So NAD is the precursor to ATP, which is the energy molecule in our cells. The frontier in medicine is mitochondria right now. Mitochondria are the generators of ATP. So we're going back. So NAD is the precursor enzyme for energy. Energy is made in the mitochondria. Okay. So NAD, just like we have, imagine our shoe, right? We got these ends here. See that? On these ends are our DNA, right? And they have at the ends these things that prevent fraying. They're called telomeres. NAD repairs those telomeres, repairing genetic damage which occurs as we age, that's what's causing aging. And that's why we have a field of longevity, because we believe we can completely eradicate this fraying. So NAD is one of the few molecules we know which can do that. The big fight now is, does it work in NMN form, in the NAD oral form, or IV form? And we're sort of divided into different camps on this. We we know for some people the oral NMN works better than IV. We know for some people it doesn't, but we have no blood test way to identify it. We have found that IV NAD works well for some things like alcohol addiction. It works great. If you add it to ketamine for depression and anxiety, it has a synergistic effect along with rapamycin. So there are certain circumstances where only IV works, and there are certain circumstances where oral works. But the data that's coming out is that even though the absorption with IV may not be as good, but as a hard reset, having that once a year or every 6 months with oral forms of NAD is the way to go until this gets clarified.
It's interesting. How do we know this though? Like how much
So
research has been done? When I was looking at it, I didn't see a ton. I saw a lot of animal stuff. I didn't see, is there human stuff
the
yet?
the research that is being done is in Israel. So the next time you look at it, they have great data on this. Europe is doing a lot of research on it. China has the most data on it. I don't believe a thing from there. After COVID, I just like, I don't know. I'm probably wrong, and I'm gonna get called racist and whatnot, and that's fine. But they have fudged too many studies in the past, so I just discard that until I know better. But yes, we do have, and yes, there's so much animal data, and that's the problem. I tell people, animal data is great, and we can geek out with Huberman as much as we want, but 98% to 99% of animal data does not translate to humans. That's
Right.
a
I
that's
wish
a
more people knew that.
right.
Yeah, 98 to 99% does
Yeah,
not transfer.
yeah, it does not.
And so, yeah, I think this is such a common issue too. where I sometimes, get backlash, or a lot of people ask questions when I'm talking on social media about supplements, things like that. And they'll say, oh, there's this thing that happened, and I'll pull it up and I'll be like, oh, that was a mouse study. And so I think it is really important for people to realize that, yeah, just because it's a result in mice doesn't mean it's a result in humans.
Yeah, it's like everything in life is signal to noise ratio, right? There's a lot of noise. You gotta just stay tuned to that signal. And it's like I don't know how to I'm navigating that myself, and I got to keep myself honest with it, and that's where you have these conversations. That's why I traverse all these fields, and I'm in doctors' lounges while I'm in quantum healing sessions and practitioners who are talking about multi universes and whatnot, and I'm just listening. I'm just learning. I'm seeing and I'm telling each group about each other. So like, hey, these are well-meaning people. This is what they believe, and this is what's going on, and that's the way to do it. And be okay with changing your mind, please. There's nothing
Yes.
wrong with that. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just I changed my mind right now. You know what? In 2 years, probably change my mind again. Okay.
Which is good. We should be changing our mind. Like, having an open mind is so important, and curiosity is so important. I think we've forgotten that.
Right. And I do that with my patients because I'll call them 9 months later after starting something and be like, hey guys, this is the new data. Let's talk about this. Let's see where we're at. And maybe we need to come off of this and re-examine why we're doing this and stuff. And they'll ask me stuff, and I'll say stuff like, I don't know. And one patient started laughing. I was like, what happened? He's like, I've never heard a doctor say, I don't know. I'm like, well, that's kind of weird because there's of course going to be a time when you don't know.
Right.
You know?
I prefer someone who could admit that over someone who just is going to say something I want to hear, or something random, or something on false pretenses.
Or be like, okay, well, I'm going to have my team or me look into it and get back to you. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying I'm not going to find out. I just said, I don't know right now.
Right.
But you're right. You're right. It's just, Chloe, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you can guide me.
Something I think has helped me a lot is teaching people about the scientific method, or even dumbing that down to help people kind of understand how to think scientifically, as opposed to trying to tell them things change. Helping them understand, here's how you test things. You take an action, which is research. You assess that action. How did it go? And then you adjust based on the results and your assessment, and then you act again. And it's like, understanding that and having that framework, I feel like helps a lot.
Absolutely. But the scientific community is academic political shit show, right now.
It's true.
Which is
that's true.
How a person advances is by bootlicking and doing certain things, and then it's just this whole academic, it's just a mess. And so I don't blame anyone for thinking that way, and that's why I can't say much to that effect that, oh, people are doing this. What we cornered them, we did this. So first step, we have to be like mea culpa. We did this and we're trying to fix it. We understand it. However, you now doing cow dung skin routines and coffee enemas may be going a little too far on the other side. So let's meet in the middle somewhere. Okay.
Speaking of cow dung and coffee enemas, like,
these are
there's some
things.
wild things
These are
out
real
there. Yeah, I
things,
know.
guys,
They are.
happening
They
right
are
now
real.
in Kansas City.
I know. Oh,
Dude,
can
it's
you
happening
speak to
here.
coffee enemas? Is there any scientific validity behind this?
Here's how it works. You clean out a part of your sigmoid colon, which people don't have normal bowel movements, so that helps. You put caffeine in a highly vascular area, so if you drink a cup of coffee, 80 milligrams, you put it in your butt, it's gonna be like 500 milligrams of caffeine. You're gonna feel like gangbusters, right? But you could have drank that coffee and just cleaned your GI system by eating well and sleeping well and having normal bowel movements. I just haven't found anyone who can tell me what's the difference. I get why it works for some people. Of course, you're constipated and now you have a bowel movement. Great. I know the feeling. You feel great. And then 500 milligrams of caffeine, got it. Okay. I don't understand the butt stuff, but I got it. But now what? How is this an intervention? How is this a medical treatment of what?
This is a perfect
treatment being
segue.
used for stage 4 cancer.
How do you figure that out, though? How do you decide? What's your methodology for there are caffeine enemas, there are the cow dung stuff. Like, what is your framework for examining something that comes across your desk?
Well, origin is a big point. Like, where did this start, or what happened? Have there been any randomized controlled trials? on this. We are behind in many countries. And so I always look at Europe and see, are they doing this? What other countries are doing this or what's happening? But I also have, as a physician, access to things like medical archives, like up to date, where I can search through studies done in premier institutions all over the world. So yeah, I know the spaces to go to check and trusted information. Even there, I have to verify and stuff. So, but I have access to more information than a normal person would, just getting on Google or whatever AI platform. It's like kind of the a hedge fund stockbroker guy having the Bloomberg terminal. They get some stuff a little earlier or whatever. So yeah.
When these things come across your desk, these new methodologies in health and wellness, are there common red flags that you see among the ones that you're kind of like, what the hell, this is BS?
Well, if it's too good to be true, like, it's like, okay, it's like any ad where you'd be like, I took an ice bath and now I can see in 5D. Or now I can look through time and space. But people just exaggerate every one intervention like to the nth degree. Like I'm a believer in all of this stuff, but yes, just exaggerated claims like, okay, it solved my rheumatoid arthritis, taking vitamin E drops and I put it on my navel while staring at the sun or whatever it is. So those kind of things obviously just fall out right away. The other stuff you have to examine is there is a robust natural hurt. Naturopathy is real. There's other kind of alternatives practices that the studies that are done are in different languages, but they're available. You can, you don't have to discard them all. But also with my own patients, it's easy to see from your blood work. It's like the data doesn't lie. So, that's kind of there's an enzyme called GGT which is elevated with in alcoholics, right? So some people come with me and have elevated liver enzymes and they're like, oh, I've been taking a lot of Tylenol, dog. I'm like, okay, well, let's check a few things. And the GGT is over the roof. And I'm like, okay, this is what's going on. And they're like, yeah, I've been drinking, this and that. So then you find out some people are taking supplements that have some weird stuff in it. Like, for example, ashwagandha is having its moment in the sun right now. But I have young women coming to me because it messes with their period. And what they don't know is SSRIs, ashwagandha is nature's SSRI. It has a low dose Lexapro effect. It is not for everybody. Should everyone be taking a low dose SSRI? No. Some people have had horrible anhedonia, and so it's just like, just inform people and just be like, everything that's hot right now doesn't necessarily be good. But there's so many good things happening with the space. Every elderly patient of mine, I put them on collagen and creatine, almost every one of them. And they have such improvements in their mental faculties. They're like, thank you, doc. I can think now, and it's such a simple intervention. Like, get off this podcast, call your grandmother and be like, hey, I'm sending you some collagen creatine, start it tomorrow. It's like, let's just get that word out, so we're making progress, and part of it is, maybe you've caught me on a wrong day, I'm being negative, but just sunshine, bring sunshine to everything and it'll all come out. We're all going to be good.
So for the average person then, if we're talking about some real life applications, where would you suggest they start in this more integrative approach? Like finding someone like you, or are there things that they could do outside of
This
a
can be
concierge
done
doctor?
outside. Finding someone like me just streamlines it, but they can certainly do this. They need to basically figure out what they want. What are their goals? What do they want? Number one. Number two, how are we tracking this? What are you doing to prevent things about the four horsemen? What's in your family history and all? Advantage of coming to me is that I have a process this a lot, and so I've seen what results, and I know how to track everything down. For example, now there are two new tests available, and you might have heard about this. There's a company called Prenuv who does a full body MRI. It's $2,500. And there's a swab test for new cancers that are able to catch 75% of new cancers. But these are new therapeutics, and they have what we call false negative. I might find a spot on your kidneys that is nothing, but we don't know until we biopsy it. So people see both sides of the story. People come to me with these results sometimes, or come to me to order these, and I'm a data guy. I'm like, let's go for it, but be ready for falling the false positives. Are you sure you're not a hypochondriac type of person? that's going to stay up with things that don't matter, and how much disposable income do you have to spend on this, and all this data has not been verified. This is what we know, and having those conversations with these people. But yeah, this can be all done by yourself. It's just finding someone like me can save you time and streamline it. And there are people doing it remotely. There's just a lot of people in this space that can help anyone out there with this. But make time in your life for it, because I've seen a lot of people on their deathbeds, and whatever you've accumulated, whatever you have, it's always the same thing: my health, my relationships. At the end, they always regret not giving it the time in their life, and that's across all ethnicities, religions, and all people. So make it a priority.
It's really beautiful. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think we're about to enter a space where everyone's gonna be in tune with all three aspects of the mind, body, spirit. This type of conversations will push this forward, where in 5 years, where this will be a given. We won't have to talk about this. This will be an understood concept.
Is there a moment where people, from your perspective, should seek out a trusted medical partner? Like you just mentioned, they can do a lot by themselves. But is there
Yes.
a moment where you're like, okay, this is probably where you should get some help?
Yeah, I think that if you see any lab abnormalities, anything simple stuff like check your blood pressure, any Target, Walmart you go to, you can get your pulse and blood pressure checked. And if it's high, don't just be like, ignore it. Maybe it's high one time, but the second time. I see a lot of people, we talk about all this thing about longevity, but no one knows what their blood pressure is. It's the number one silent killer in the United States. I mean, when was the last time, Cody, you checked your blood pressure? Not to put you on the spot.
My last physical, like 8 months ago, maybe.
Right. And you're a healthy guy, you take care of yourself. No reason to do it every day. But there are people who are not living in a good, healthy way. And a simple intervention, just that, can now save you space, time, and energy in your 70s. Everyone who comes to me wants the same thing. What I'm doing right now at 50, 55, 40, 45, I want to do at 75, 80 with the same faculties. But they don't want to spend the time to do the things that are needed to maintain that, right? And so people can do it on their own with time, but having a partner like a physician just makes it so much easier, because now you don't have to interpret everything, and they can build a plan for you, and you just follow the steps as needed. But it's just saying that this is a priority for me now.
Something that I think about a lot is doctor is in front of your name and is in front of every other physician's name who I look up when I search doctor on Google.
Yeah.
Behind your name, though, is all of the stuff we talked about, this integration of mind, brain, and spirit and body, and all of this like extra stuff that you're doing. But when someone goes and searches for a physician, I feel like there's this almost perspective like, oh, they're a doctor, but they're not like a Dr. Kapoor doctor. They're a doctor. Like it's this weird thing where doctors aren't the same as other doctors. And it's like, what the hell? How do you simplify that? Or how would you simplify that for someone who is out there searching?
Yeah, and so you want to see if they're board certified in their state, or if they have a standing in their medical license in the state of Kansas, and this is all verifiable information. And you're right, and I support some of it, but pharmacists have a doctorate now, go by doctor. Nursing has a doctorate. Chiropractors are using it. Some nurse practitioners and mid-levels are using it, as well as the naturopathic doctors are known as doctors as well. So yeah, it's confusing for people, but you want to look for that MD, DO. You want to see, most people who are kind of doing what I'm doing, you can get a pretty good idea from their website if they're going to entertain some of the things outside the box or not. Say, if you go to KU or St. Luke's to a physician or primary care physician or a physician like me there, do not expect to have these conversations. That's not what's going to happen. Don't go there and get frustrated and get on Reddit and be like, doctors don't know shit. You're going to this. So it's just have that little bit of a critical eye. And I'm not disparaging my fellow physicians in any way. It's just that's a different type of practice. That's not the type of physician you're maybe looking for. And then if you do want these things and you want this extra time and space, then it's going to cost a little bit more too. I've had people who want to argue with me as why isn't insurance covering NAD? I don't know. Like, yeah, why isn't insurance covering your ketamine? Yeah, they should. These are the studies. Send it to your insurance company. Take it to, you know, we do have a two-tier healthcare system. Absolutely. I sometimes help with the homeless downtown, and it's we're living in third world conditions in some areas. So yeah, that disparity is only going to grow, unfortunately.
Fair enough. All right, let's move into our lightning lab here as we kind of bring this in for a landing. It's been a wild conversation. We've been all over the place. I love it. Chloe, you want to go first?
Yeah. The first one is, what's something that's true to you, but very few people agree with you on?
I have always said that I think that physicians or people in my role should not have any financial incentive involved in the outcomes. And I feel that it's just the reason the 60s and 70s this country was wildly successful was because everyone made their money, but like the politician would be, say, a retired judge or a retired physician, and they would sort of do it for 4 years and leave. We just need to have a core group or certain people who are like, we're gonna do what's the fiduciary duty we have towards you. Most everyone starts off that way, physicians, but then, we have payments to make, houses to pay, whatever. We're in this system. You can't fight everything. I mean, with COVID, literally you got to fight the federal government, and people just take the easiest route out. And so I feel like that's a view that I've kept for a long time, and my wife reminds me every day what an idiot I am about it.
And yet you persist. I'm glad there's people out there like you.
Well, I don't know. I'm plenty capitalistic as well. So
Hey, balance, man. All right, next one in the lightning lab, or the last one, is what's a question that you wish more people asked you?
I think a question that I wish people would ask me is that what should I be asking my physician? What should I be asking my doctor? What are the things that when I walk into a doctor's office, I want to know? And most people either try to get a curbside diagnosis on their aunt's horrible medical condition, or they want to know my views on or whatever the hot thing is, vaccination or the coffee enemas, things like that. So, but I
What are
think,
those things? What are the questions? What should people ask their doctor?
are we saving that for the next podcast, or we're going to go into all of it right now? But
Just
yeah,
give me like
okay.
the top three, maybe top three things that you should ask your doctor.
Okay, top three things would be like, number one, these medications that I'm on, is there an off ramp? Why this is part of the problem we have is that we start, say you come in with a headache or a migraine, we'll put you on a medicine for migraine, the migraine goes away. Now for the next 20 years, you're taking this medicine with no reevaluation of why, how, what,
Dude, that's crazy. It's so wild you say that, because after I got 4 concussions playing college basketball, and I started
Right,
getting migraines after that, and they gave me a little medicine. If you get a migraine, just take one of these and go to
right,
sleep for a little bit. But I never even thought that's like the only prescription that is in my
right,
cabinet, just
right,
in case I ever need it. I take maybe 1 or 2 a year, but I've
right, right,
never ever thought to ask about an off ramp for having to need that.
right,
And
right.
I think about this stuff all day, every day, until
That, that,
just this moment. I haven't thought about that.
and that's got to be central. We have patients who are 55 on 25 different meds because of this. And they'll come to me and I'm like, dude, this is going to take me 9 months to get you off like some of this stuff. And one of the things you see in the hospital is a lot of the elderly will come in, and because they're sick or not eating, we suddenly stop their meds, and then they suddenly get better. And the families are like, she didn't know my name, she didn't know what's going on. And just because there's a lot of interactions that happen with supplements, medications and all that we're just not aware of.
Yeah.
We just like, this is exacerbated by the hims and hers thing going on. Everyone is on Cialis, dick pills. Freaking finasteride is the other one, which causes so many side effects. But you just log on, you don't see a doctor, you get this in the mail. Young 17, 18, 20-year-old kids are taking this stuff. I just saw a patient recently who's got Cialis from Hims or something, and one of the two side effects, and he had both of them. It causes ringing in the ears and it causes low back pain. And for years, he's got ENT, he's gone to surgeries, had x-rays, shots in his back. We stopped the Cialis, both things went away. Okay?
Oh my gosh.
So, you know, yeah, these medications have, and people call it side effects. I just call it effects.
Yeah,
You
that's
don't
good
like it,
phrasing.
for you, you don't like it, but that's its effect. It's an uncaused, unneeded effect, not a side effect.
All right, so one question out of three is what's the off ramp for the medication? What are the other two questions people should ask their doctor?
The other two things is, how can I protect my health? Like, give me a few things that I can do to protect my health as I age.
Okay.
Okay. And it's always keep it simple, dummy. Eat, sleep, work out. Like, don't major in the minors for 7, 8 days if you've not gone to the gym all month. Don't read and listen to a 4 hour podcast about ice baths if you can't do 3 push-ups. Okay. This is the problem. Like, let's get the basic stuff right. Add circadian rhythm to that, maybe remove weed and alcohol. And then let's get into all this NAD and all this stuff.
Right.
Like,
Dude.
we're just overcomplicated. Like, I have not been able to perfect my, I'm not even close to nutrition, diet, exercise. And, women come in and I'm like, you got to weight train. They're like, oh, I'll get buff. I'm like, I've been freaking trying for 25 years. I haven't got buff. Good luck.
Right. Dude, I see that all the time too. So many people come to me and they're like, oh, I have anxiety, I have depression, I have this. Anxiety is the most common one I see.
Yeah.
And I'll ask them, well, like, what's your exercise, sleep, and nutrition? And they're like, well, I only sleep 5-ish hours. I wake up every time. I have racing thoughts at nighttime, so I can't really fall asleep. And I'm like, have you ever tried to fix your sleep? And they're like, no. I was like, well, let's focus there. And then all of a sudden their anxiety disappears. And it's like, dude, you weren't anxious. Your body budget was fucked.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I couldn't agree more with that. So that's beautiful. Okay. That's the second question. What's the last one? What's the last thing people should ask their doctor?
Insurance is not your friend. You're not getting anything covered. Most things will be denied. Start making a health savings account, keeping some money for your own health. Do not rely on insurance. There are a lot of options available. Maybe even drop it and get a direct pay or concierge doctor and just get catastrophic insurance if you're healthy. Look at other options. Do not assume because your work pays for insurance, you are now, live to 90 and everything is golden. We're
Got
the
it.
generation, you guys are the generation that is not going to have Medicare. So, just be aware of that, because a lot of people, and rightfully so, they're like, I pay for insurance. Yeah, but okay, your deductible is $10,000. You just came in for labs. They're going to charge you $2,500 through your insurance for these labs. Or I could send you somewhere and we could get it cash for $250. They're like, well, why do I pay for insurance then? Okay, again, let's meet downtown and protest it and do something about it, maybe. But that's the reality of the situation.
Right.
So,
yeah. That's fair. All right. That's good. I love those. Those are great 3 questions. Have to be asking my doctor. So that's wild. Cool. Well, thank you for hopping on with us. Is there anything else that you like, a last message or anything else that you'd like to leave people with before we sign off?
I think I've spoken enough, but yeah, I'm at kcprimarycare.com if anybody wants to come chat and check me out and exchange ideas.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I'm excited. I've connected with a couple people recently. I'm excited to hear about too. We'll drop your website, your socials, all the stuff below as well. That's a wrap for today's podcast with Dr. Kapoor. Thank you so much for hopping on. If you guys like this no BS approach to wellness, you should definitely hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if there's a brand or an expert that you want us to chat with next, drop it in the comments or hit us up on Instagram. We'll see you next time on the Decision Lab. Peace.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.